Welcome to the video tutorial of Paycheck Budget 2.0. This is a fully automated template. The bulk of the work will be in this setup sheet. Everything is automated, so it will save you time in the long run. As a general rule, please only fill out white cell like this, and gray cells. Do not edit colored cells as they contain formula. I put warning in place, so if you accidentally edit them, this message will pop out. So please select cancel unless you want to edit it. Then you can check this box and then select OK. I'm going to select cancel. You can hide any tabs you're not using by right-clicking on the tab and select hide sheet. You can always unhide them later. Please start with the setup sheet. Select your starting month and current month. This will update your annual tracker, which I will explain later. And the current month you select here will automatically update your monthly dashboard here. So don't forget to select the right current month every month. Always choose the first of the month for both cells, unless you specifically want your monthly dashboard to start on certain dates other than the first, then you can choose any date here. Please make sure that the current month is not later than the starting month. If you do that, this will turn to red as a reminder. The next step is to write your subcategories. You have three main categories, which is income, savings, and expenses. All subcategories are fully editable, so you can delete, edit, and write any categories to suit your needs. The same with savings categories, bills, debt, subscriptions, and variable expenses. They're all fully editable. For expenses, you have recurring expenses such as bills, debt, and subscriptions, as well as variable expenses. Variable expenses are all of your non-recurring expenses such as eating out, groceries, and shopping. Please make sure not to double up on the same name from each category. For example, under bills, I have council rates. Then under savings, if I want to save for my annual council rate fee, I name this savings dash council rate so that I don't double up on the same name. The other thing not to do is, as shown in this note here, please do not cut and paste the categories. You can copy and paste, but please do not cut and paste as that will create error in the spreadsheet. Also, do not add or delete rows. If you need extra rows for savings, simply click this plus icon here. You can check the box and click OK. And the same with expenses. Simply click this plus icon here, and you have up to 80 categories for bills, subscriptions, and variable expenses, and up to 50 for debt categories. If you need extra rows for income, please reach out to me and I will send you an updated template. Once you have set up your categories, if they are recurring transactions, please enter the amount, frequency, and start date. For the frequency, you have the option of weekly, bi-weekly, which is every 14 days, monthly, for weekly, which is every 28 days, quarterly, biannual, which is every 6 months, and annual. The start date is the first payment of that category after your starting month. To enter a date, the easiest way is to double-click on the cell and then you can select your date. You can write the date in month format first or date format first. In month format first, you can simply type the month. For example, if it's January, then write 1/the date, which is in this case the 3rd, and then select enter. But if you want to write the date in date format first, then you can type the date and without space, simply write the first 3 letters of the month. In this instance, JRen, and then select enter. This template is designed so you can write the dates in either format. Now the end date is automatically populated from this cell here, which is set to 12 months after your starting month, which means that all your recurring transactions will be automatically populated for the next 12 months from the starting month. You can set up these recurring transactions for your savings as well as your bills, debt, and subscriptions. If you need to stop this recurring transaction at some point, you can edit the end date here. So for example, if I'm canceling my Amazon Prime in March, then I can simply delete this end date. This message will pop out, but you can check the box and click OK in this instance. Then enter the end date of that category, press enter, so that particular recurring transaction will stop on this date. One more thing about the date, please do not enter the start date before you enter the amount and frequency. So for example, if I do that, these 2 cells will be highlighted in red. This red mark will help you identify any error in this setup sheet, which means that your recurring transactions won't be populated correctly to the payments sheet. All you need to do, simply enter the amount and also frequency, and that error will disappear. If you have irregular income, please write the categories here, leave the amount, frequency, and start date blank, and you can log your irregular transactions in the manual log tab. And the same thing with irregular savings and irregular bills, debt, and subscriptions. Simply write the categories here and leave the amount, frequency, and start date blank. You can log them in the manual log tab. Now, if you have bi-monthly income or semi-monthly, which is when you get paid twice a month, this is what you should do. Copy and paste the same income category, select monthly frequency for both of them, enter the first paycheck of the month in the start date here for the first category, and then the second paycheck for the second category. This income category will then be repeated every month on the 1st and the 15th. You can also allocate bank account to each category next to column F by clicking on the double arrow here, and the same next to column M, click the double arrow here, and one more is next to column T. So you can now allocate account to each category. But before that, please go to the Accounts tab and list your bank account here. Again, this is fully editable, so you can delete this and then write your bank account names. Once you have done that, then if you go to the Setup tab, this drop down here will be updated accordingly. If you are not allocating account to a category, simply select dash here. If you have recurring savings transfer from certain account to certain account, you can also allocate them here. One more thing to note is if you have any credit cards, make sure that the subcategory names that you write here matches exactly with the credit card names that you write in the Accounts tab. You can allocate from account here, but the to account is automatically set to each credit card. So that's why these credit card names need to match exactly what you have in the Accounts tab. Now, moving on to the variable expenses, which is your non-recurring expenses. You can set up your monthly budget here per category. What's shown here is simply a calculator, so you can see your weekly equivalent based on the monthly budget that you enter here, as well as the annual calculation. This table here is just a simple calculator to calculate ratio or percentage of your fixed income. So in this instance, if you enter 10% here, the result is 180 because for SAM salary, I have put 1800 with the frequency of biweekly. So this is simply a guide if you need to set up your savings amount as percentage of your fixed income. Once you finish setting up your recurring transactions in the setup sheet, they will be automatically generated to the payments tab. Feel free to hide row 1 by right-clicking on the row and select hide row. So as you can see, all of your recurring transactions here are automatically populated for the next 12 months from your starting month that you selected in the setup tab. Please do not edit column B to column G. I didn't put warning in place for this shade to allow you to be able to filter these transactions. Only fill out white cells. You can enter your description here and any variation here, which I will explain in detail later. For easy navigations, all transactions are highlighted per category, so you can easily spot your income, debt, expenses, and savings. You can also hide any columns. So for example, I will highlight column E to column H, right-click on it, and then select hide columns. You can easily relocate this filter, drag it to the side like that. Before I talk about this paid column, I want to show you that all of these transactions from this sheet will be automatically populated to all the dashboards. Let's start with the monthly dashboard. So all of those unpaid transactions will be populated to the projected columns in the income and savings table, as well as under the budget columns in the bills, debt, and subscriptions tables. Then when you check the paycheck boxes, so I'm going to check some of the transactions here. If I go back to the monthly tab, you can see that all of the transactions that I've checked are now showing the amount under this actual column here. Now for any variation to the date, amount, from account, and to account, simply input them in this variation table here. I'm going to hide this column. For example, if my water bill for this month is $70 instead of $60, I'm gonna put the new amount here. It will automatically update it here, as well as if I go to the monthly dashboard, you can see under water bill is updated and shown as $70. Red text indicates over budget. $60 is the amount that I put in the setup tab for water bill, which is my budget. This sheet will automatically identify if the actual is over the budget allowed. They will be marked as red, so you can quickly spot any bills that's over the budget that you allow. Now, for those of you who prefer to see unpaid versus paid transactions in your dashboard, you can treat these budget columns as your unpaid transaction. For any variation to your unpaid transactions, you can simply delete and override the formula there. So I will write $70 there. So that way you can see your unpaid transaction versus actual or paid transaction. If you have any variation to the date, simply enter them here. So I'm going to enter a new date for this transaction here. Instead of 6th of April, I'm going to enter the 8th of April. And you can see that it's automatically updated here as well. And the same case with from account and to account. To account column is not applicable for bills and subscriptions because it will be to your vendor. So if you accidentally allocate an account there, it will be marked as red. So simply delete that. The same thing with income from account is not applicable for income category because that will be from your employer. And the same thing, it will be marked as red if you accidentally allocate from account there. Other than that, you can easily change your from account to account to each of these transactions. You can also filter all transactions using the filter function in row 2 here. You can filter by status, paid or unpaid, by month and year, subcategory and category, to account and from account. Please note when you activate the filter function, it will take a couple of seconds, so it might be a bit slow. So only leave the filter function on only when you need it, and make sure to reset it when you don't use it anymore. For those of you who pay your credit card balance in full each month, go to the Setup tab. For example, if you're paying the credit card 3 in full balance each month, please enter 0 as the amount. In the payments shade, it will show here as 0. Simply enter the full balance that you're paying. The next step is you want to avoid double counting because you have allocated all of the transactions that you made through that credit card in all the spending categories like eating out, rent, and so on. If you are paying the full balance to avoid double counting, you want to exclude this amount in all of your dashboards. Simply delete this. It will show as red to remind you that this transaction here won't be included in all dashboards. So if I go to the monthly dashboard, you can see that credit card 3 under actual column is 0, but don't worry, this transaction will still be shown in the calendar, so you can see when it's due and how much in that calendar. One thing to be mindful of, once you make some amendments in the white cells here, and you've used the paycheck boxes here, if you do have to make a new recurring transaction, for example, I am adding a new recurring bill called Bill 1, please make sure that the start date of Bill 1 should be after the last transaction when you check the box or make some edit. For example, if I edit this new laptop saving to be $200, the last row here that was checked is savings cancel rate. But if the date of my new bill is before that last transaction, you can see what happened, that it's shifted. And that $200 is no longer from my laptop and it's shifted to the emergency fund. So all you need to do is to adjust it. I will check this. I will also check this. So you just need to remember to adjust that, or make sure to finish setting up your bills, including the start date, before you start making adjustment or variation. And if you do need to add new bills, simply add the start date after the last transaction where you make some edit. Next to Payments tab is Manual Log tab. This is where you can enter your variable expenses and irregular transactions. Don't forget to hide this row 1. Right-click and hide row. Please do not enter recurring transactions here. If you have any recurring transactions, as explained before in the video, please set them up from the setup sheet and they will be populated to the payment sheet. You should only enter your variable transactions here. You can also enter things such as irregular savings, irregular bills, and income, and also debt. Please do that by entering the date. Choose the subcategory. Once you enter your subcategory, this column G, which is the category, will be automatically populated for you. Please remember not to edit the colored cells, so do not edit column G. Enter your amount, so for example, $80. From account is optional, but you can allocate account if you want to track your balances. To account is not applicable for variable expenses, so if you accidentally choose something, it will turn red, so make sure to delete that. As you can see, column A, the paid column, is grayed out. For things like variable expenses and irregular savings, the paid column is not applicable because you should only enter variable expenses and irregular savings once they are being paid. However, for things like irregular bill, this is an example. If you have home repair bill that's not recurring, but the paycheck box will appear only for bills, income, and debt. For savings and variable expenses, they are not applicable and will be grayed out. If by accident you deleted a cell in column G, don't worry, you can easily restore the formula by selecting the cell above or below it and copy and paste it to this cell here. So press Ctrl C and then Ctrl V here. The formula is now restored. You can also filter this table by clicking the little triangle icon here next to each header. One more thing, if you need to add or edit a category from this dropdown, and then the same basically for any dropdown, please do not edit the category here. Always do it from the setup sheet. Once you've done it in the setup sheet, then this dropdown will be automatically updated. And to make edits for the accounts, please go to the accounts tab and then you can do that from this column here. You can also track money transfer between accounts here. Simply enter the date, leave the subcategory blank, enter your amount, enter the account you're transferring money from, and the account you're transferring money to. The subcategory should remain blank. So this is your monthly dashboard where you can see the summary of all of your income, savings, and expenses. The current month here is based on what you selected in the setup tab under current month here. If you have any funds from the previous month, feel free to enter the amount here. This monthly summary table here is where you can see the total budget versus actual of all of your income, savings, and expenses. End balance here is start balance plus total income minus total expenses and minus total savings. And you can compare your end balance between your budget and actual. Your total actual income versus expenses shown in this chart here. All of your totals are displayed in easy views here. These are your actual totals, which are your paid transactions. Left to spend amount is your remaining budget of total expenses, which is the total budget of your expenses minus actual. This is your actual end balance, which is populated from this cell here. This is the total amount of your unpaid bills plus debt plus subscription. So you can track how much left you have to pay of all of your recurring expenses for the month. The same here is the payment progress of all of your bills, debt, and subscriptions. You can also see that progress breakdown is shown here of your bills, debt, and subscriptions, and progress of your variable expenses of budget versus actual. Your expenses breakdown summarized in this chart here. Spending breakdown is from your variable expenses. This chart is populated from the actual column here, and it is sorted from highest to lowest amount. Now, if you scroll down all the way to the right, this chart shows the amount of total expenses that you spend daily. You can quickly identify which days you spend the most. If you scroll down, highest to lowest expenses this month is summarized in this table and also shown here the percentage of each category. So you have two options for Paycheck Dashboard. Please only use one of them. Once you make a decision, simply hide the other tab. I'm going to explain the first layout option, which is Paycheck Dashboard 1. So this dashboard works exactly the same with the monthly dashboard. The only difference is instead of tracking everything monthly, it's tracking everything between the paycheck start date here and the paycheck end date here. So all of the amounts that you see here are the totals between these two dates. The first thing you need to do here is to select your paycheck frequency. You have three options: weekly, bi-weekly, and 4-weekly. The next thing is to select your paycheck start date. Your paycheck end date will update automatically based on the frequency that you choose here. The paycheck end date is 1 day before the next paycheck. This is your left to spend amount this paycheck, which is the remaining budget of your total expenses, budget minus actual. Your end balance this paycheck is shown in this, populated from this cell here. So this amount here is the total of your unpaid bills, debt, and subscriptions this paycheck. And the payment progress of your recurring expenses, which is paid versus unpaid of your bills, debt, and subscriptions, is shown in here. Spending breakdown is your variable expenses breakdown, which is populated from this column here. So make sure to log your variable expenses in the manual log tab for this chart to show. It is sorted from the highest to lowest amount. And if you scroll to the right, you can also see your daily spending chart, which is the total expenses you spend daily. So you can identify which day this paycheck that you spend the most. If you scroll down, I want to explain about this split feature here that's only applicable to bills, debt, and subscriptions. So I've created this feature for those of you who want to automatically split your monthly recurring expenses per paycheck. In this example here, rent is 1,600. If I check this split checkbox, it will automatically split that amount by 2. That's because I have chosen biweekly as the frequency. So whenever I check this split checkbox, it will automatically divide the monthly amount by 2. However, if I choose weekly, for example, it will automatically divide that monthly amount by 4 instead of by 2, because now it's dividing the monthly amount per weekly equivalent. Please note that split checkbox won't apply to for weekly. The same applies for debt and subscription. You can also check the split checkboxes to split the monthly amount. Paycheck to sheet is option 2 layout for your paycheck dashboard. Instead of isolating each paycheck period, this sheet will show you all the paycheck periods within the month. Please select your frequency. You have two options here, weekly and bi-weekly. Then select your start date. This start date is when you receive your first paycheck of the month. The end date will automatically populate, as well as the start date and end date of paycheck to period, all automatic based on the frequency that you selected. So for example, if I choose a different date, as you can see, it will automatically detect the third paycheck based on your start date here. If I choose weekly frequency, it will automatically populate all of the paycheck periods for the month based on the weekly frequency. If you choose weekly frequency, please make sure to unhide column G, which is next to column F, by clicking the double arrow here, and the same next to column O. And if you scroll to the right next to column W, please unhide all of the columns so you can see all of the 5 paycheck periods in this sheet. Please click on this chart and drag it all the way to the right as well. This layout is suitable for those of you who wants to see all of the paycheck periods, and also if you don't need to see your budget or projected amounts. Everything in the sheet are actual amounts or paid transactions. This is also suitable for those of you who wants to roll over your end balance automatically to the start balance of each paycheck. The end balance of paycheck 1 will automatically roll over to paycheck 2. The same with this end balance of paycheck 2 to paycheck 3, and balance of paycheck 3 to paycheck 4, and so on. For the purpose of this video, I'm going to talk about bi-weekly option. Because this sheet only populates paid transactions, please remember to check the paycheck boxes in the payments sheet for all of your transactions to appear as per the paycheck period here. You can see your paycheck summary here, which is the total income, all expenses and savings of paycheck 1 period and paycheck 2 period. You can also see all of your total bills, debt, and subscriptions. This is also translated to this chart here. So you can see the comparison of income, expenses, and savings of the 2 paycheck periods. This chart here is your total expenses breakdown and your total spending breakdown. Remember, this is based off your variable expenses, which is from this table here. You can view both paycheck period based on what's shown here. So you can also view your paycheck 2 spending breakdown and expenses breakdown here. Now, if you scroll down, your bills, debt, and subscriptions are automatically populated to each paycheck period. I have added a total column here for bills and debt only. For those of you who wants to split your bills, you can do that manually in here. The benefit of this is you don't have to divide it by 2. You can control the amount by manually entering the number here. But before you do that, because you will be overriding formula, please make sure to make the duplicate of this original paycheck to sheet. Right-click and select duplicate. I would then double-click and rename this the month. Then I can split the bills. So for example, I would allocate $1,000 for paycheck 1 and then $600 for paycheck 2 to make up of the total of $1,600. So you can enter the amount manually if you want to split your monthly bills. The same applies with your debt as well. Now, when you want to move on to the next month, because you have deleted the formula here, please create the new month by duplicating Paycheck to tab. Double click on it and you can call it April. Simply select the next paycheck period, which is 1 day after your end date of the last paycheck. In this instance, is 11th of April. As you can see, your current paycheck period is marked in black. Annual tracker sheet is where you can track all of your paid transactions annually. The starting month and current month are automatically populated from the setup tab. That current month is automatically marked in black and gray. You can see the summary of all expenses here. The amounts shown in these charts are the total amounts from starting month to current month. You can see the full breakdown of each category here per month and also the total versus average. So you'll be able to see the average per month you spend on each category like eating out, groceries, shopping, and so on. Please note for this average to calculate correctly, make sure to select the right current month in the Setup tab. And if you scroll down, the same thing for bills, debt, and subscriptions, also income and savings. Your income ratio breakdown shown in this chart here, savings breakdown. The last one here is your income versus savings monthly chart. Let's talk about the calendar sheet. This is your bill calendar where you can view your income, bills and subscriptions, and debt. It's a smart calendar, so please do not duplicate the tab. Your current date will automatically be marked as red. But first, what you need to do is to set up your time zone correctly. To do that, please go to File, Settings. Make sure to select the right time zone here. Please don't forget to select Save Settings. Your current date will automatically be highlighted in red. Now you can start at any day. So for example, if I want to start on Sunday, I can choose the day before, which is the 23rd of February. If I want to start on Friday, I can choose the 28th of February. For the purpose of this video, let's start on Monday. I also want to show you that the bills from the previous month is also shown here. So you can actually see a full view of each week. So you don't have to go back and forward to see your bills from the previous month or past month to see the full week. If I want to move on to April, so all I need to do is double click here and then select the 31st of March. Everything will be automatically populated accordingly. Now to track your payment progress, please go to the Payments tab. If I mark some of these transactions as paid by checking the paid checkboxes, if I go to the calendar, you can see that they are marked as light gray. So this account sheet is where you can track your bank account balances. Please start with writing your bank account names here. And as explained before, in the setup sheet, you can allocate bank account to each recurring transaction. In the manual log tab, you can also allocate account to each transaction. The sheet will then automatically calculate the incoming total versus outgoing total of each of your bank account based on the start date and end date that you input to each bank account. Don't forget to input start balance as well. If you have any balance for your credit card, please make sure to input them with minus. Your end balance will then be automatically calculated here, which is your start balance plus incoming total minus outgoing total. One more important thing to note, as mentioned here, credit card names in this table must be exactly the same name with the credit card names you entered in the setup sheet under the debt table. So whatever you wrote here for credit cards must match what you wrote in the setup tab for those credit cards. So savings sheet is where you can track all the information related to the savings categories that you list here in the setup sheet. You can see the summary of each savings category displayed here. If you want to see the goal versus save and then also progress, please make sure to input your goal amount per saving category. You can also input your start amount for any current balance you have in your account. For any ongoing savings, simply delete the zero here and then leave it as blank. For example, if I delete this, it will automatically show as ongoing. Your save amount is calculated from the Payments tab, but don't forget to check the paid checkboxes there, otherwise it won't be populated here. Remember, if you have any irregular savings, you can also log that in the Manual Log tab. Everything will be automatically populated for you, so you can see goal versus save in this chart here, your progress, your left to save, total left to save in this cell here, total goal here, and then total save displayed in this cell here. Remember, in the setup sheet, you can click this plus button if you need more saving categories, and the same thing in the sheet, you can also press this plus icon. This message will appear, and then you can check the box and click OK. It will give you up to 40 savings categories. There is Savings Calculator Option 1 table and Savings Calculator Option 2. The first one is to calculate your monthly contribution based on your goal amount and goal date. So your savings categories will be automatically displayed here. The same with your goal amount and start amount. Remember to input this, you can enter them here and in this row here as well. You enter the start date and then the goal date. The number of months will be displayed here, and you can see the result, which is how much your monthly contribution based on those start and goal date. If you scroll down, savings calculator option 2 is if you need to calculate your goal date based on your goal amount and monthly contribution. Say that you have a certain monthly contribution and you want to know how long it takes for you to reach a certain goal amount starting from a certain date. So all you need to do here is to enter your monthly contribution and your start date. This will populate the number of months and the goal date. Now we are in 50, 30, 20 shade. This is your needs or wants dashboard. This shade automatically calculates how much of your income from the period that you selected here, how much of your income spent on needs versus wants versus savings and debt. Everything is automatically calculated for you. All you need to do are three things. First is to set up your period here, the start date and end date. Second is to make sure that you log your income in the setup sheet and payment sheet. Don't forget to check the paycheck boxes in the payment sheet for your income to populate here. And then the third thing is to scroll down and allocate your needs and wants to each category of the bills, subscriptions, and variable expenses. Once you've done that, then you can see the numbers being populated in all charts and tables here. You can also input your goal for your needs, wants, savings, and debt. The result of this goal calculation is displayed here. So you can compare your goal versus actual number and then your goal versus actual percentage. The good thing about this is you can now set it up to any period. So if you want to do it quarterly, I can insert the 31st of March here. So now this sheet will show you the needs and wants ratio from your income this quarter. This is your debt payoff tab. The purpose of this sheet is to give you a clear payment schedule using either the snowball or avalanche method, so you know exactly what to pay, when to pay it, and how long it will take to become debt-free. The first thing you need to do is to scroll down to row 5 to 4 here. Your debt name is automatically populated from the setup sheet. Please fill out the rest of the information here, which is the start balance, minimum payment per month, and interest rate. When entering interest rate, please use dot, not comma. Credit limit is optional, so only if you want to see your credit utilization rate, you should input credit limit. It's only applicable to credit cards, and personal loan is not so much applicable for car loans and student loan. So in this instance, I'm leaving them blank. If you need more information about what is credit utilization rate is, feel free to read this note here. The next thing to do is to choose your method. That snowball is the method where you pay off your smallest balance first. That avalanche is a method where you pay off the highest interest first. When I selected that snowball here, as you can see that it automatically sorts the debts from the smallest balance to the highest balance. Then if I change this to debt avalanche method, it will automatically sort the debts from the highest interest rate to the lowest interest rate. So if you scroll down, this is your payment schedule of each debt. When you see the amounts getting bigger here, the same with here, is because with this method, once the earliest debt has been paid off, you are allocating the minimum payments that were previously paid towards that debt to the next debt. Then once that second debt has been paid off, you then allocate those minimum payments, which is this amount and this amount, towards the next debt, and so on and so on. That's why these numbers get bigger. The basic principle is whatever your total monthly payment towards the beginning of your debt journey, you are paying that same amount all the way until the end of your debt journey. So if I scroll down, you can see that the last debt that I'm paying end up being $640 all the way until it's finished, even though the minimum payment of this debt is only $60. The purpose of these two methods is to help you accelerate paying off your debts. So each month, simply follow the payments shown in this table here. And if you do that, you can see here when you will be debt-free, which is a lot faster compared if you're just paying the minimum payment for each debt. You can also enter your monthly extra payment here if you want to. So for example, if I enter $100 here, your total monthly payment becomes $740 and you can see your debt-free date is even faster. You can also see when each of your debts will be paid off in here. Then when you move on to the following month, for example, if I move on to March, don't forget to do that in the setup sheet. You can see the previous months will be marked. So that's easy for you to navigate your current month. This column here, called Add and Reduce, is where you can enter extra payment to certain month. For example, for the month of July, I want to enter $200. Whatever you input here will be applied automatically to certain debt based on this method. If you need to reduce payment, you can also put minus. For example, in this month here, I'm supposed to pay $590. But for whatever reason, if you need to reduce that payment, you can put minus 200, for example, and that will be applied automatically. Your current balance each month for each debt will be shown in this row here. So make sure to select the new current month in the setup sheet. Your progress of each debt shown here. Then you can see the summary of all of your debts here. This is something you want to pay attention to, the total interest until the end of your debt journey, so you can compare between the two methods, how much interest you're paying using each method. When you move on from month to month, it will show you the payoff progress of each debt. When you pay off certain debts, they will show as 100%. They will also be crossed out and grayed out. You can also track the number of debts paid here versus the number of debts remaining. This sheet can track up to maximum of 50 debts. Some extra tips if you scroll all the way down. Feel free to read extra tips and frequently asked questions here to help you get the most out of this sheet.